Welcome back to another episode podcast of American Pylon. I'm Will Mehall, joined by my counterparts here, James Thomas Fanning IV and Tyler Combs. David Grayson, our producer, behind the computer and the mic. And we've got some fun stuff that we're going to talk about today. We're definitely going to get into UGA football. Tyler actually had the opportunity to go down to Athens and watch an open practice, so I'm excited to hear about it.
Yeah, I was there too.
I think Jimmy was there too.
Cool.
I actually didn't know that. So, and I pushed you guys to take a camera down there and somehow make up some random media passes, but I guess that didn't come to fruition.
It was on Snapchat. You can find that on Snapchat.
It was on the official American
If you didn't
Pylon
catch it on my
Snapchat,
story,
but now it's probably expired.
I'll send it to you via Snapchat DM.
We did get within 10 feet of Kirby Smart, which was
that was
one of the coolest things I've ever done.
Yeah. And I did call. I said his autograph line, because they had autographs after open practice, that he would have the longest line by far, and it was 100 yards. He was in the end zone.
For Kirby?
For Kirby with his own tent, and the line for his autograph stretched all the way to
the other end
the
zone.
west end zone.
From the east.
Which is from the east to the west. That's how far Kirby's reach is on the recruiting trail and his autograph line.
Nice.
That was a nice little
That's
metaphor
cool.
there.
Okay, thanks.
Well, before we start, I wanted to give a shout out to one of our Reddit listeners, Crack a Straw 3, I think is his name, and his daughter Evelyn. We actually just posted on the UGA football forum on Reddit, so you'll be able to find our podcast, our YouTube posts on there. Obviously, you can still subscribe through Spotify or iTunes, but if you're on that Reddit stream or that subreddit, you'll be able to find us there. But again, before we get into the open practice, I want to give a shout out to one of our partners, In We Go. If you guys aren't familiar with In We Go, just $30 a month allows you to get unlimited access to events within the city, located in Atlanta, Denver, or Phoenix. And a lot of great events. We've got Braves games on there, Falcons games, the preseasons have started showing up, concerts, things like that. And right now, if you type in Pylon into the promo code box, you'll get $10 off your first month. So be sure to check him out at In We Go. All right, Jimmy and Tyler, you guys want to tell us a little bit about your experience down in Athens?
Jimmy's got to pull it together.
I'm talking myself right now.
Jimmy's got to pull it together.
Hey, you guys got to watch on YouTube to find out what's so funny.
Sorry, yeah. Studio issues.
Yeah, practice was really, really cool, though. It was hot. That is the first thing I will say. That was the biggest takeaway. Any of our listeners were there know that when we got there, everybody was in the shade. Yep. Which is, pretty far back from the field. So we were like, we'll just get as close to the field as we can. We were down there for about 10 minutes.
That lasted 10 minutes.
Felt like we were going to melt. But we got some pretty good notes.
Yeah, Jimmy had notepad in hand and everything.
I did.
Looked very official.
I can't find my notes now. Yeah, but I did bring them with me.
I hope that wasn't the notepad I just threw on the ground over there.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
I asked you before we started. I said, I hope you don't need this notepad. And you didn't say anything.
I didn't hear you say that.
No? All right.
Well, I do need it. Maybe I'll go grab it.
Yeah, but no, practice was fun.
Tyler actually was doing a better job keeping track of me because you went to the open practice last year.
Yeah, so I think
you had some practice with watching practice.
Yeah, which actually does. It takes us. I won't say skill, but you just have to be a little more disciplined as far as watching practice. Because if you try to watch everything, you'll miss it. You'll miss everything. But you have to kind of focus in on one group or one player or someone you want to see, so you can kind of have a takeaway if you want to. But there's just so much going on.
This is a new thing they started doing under Kirby, right?
Yeah.
So Rick had never.
I don't recall Rick ever having an open practice, not to the fans.
Yeah, I don't think they're aware that I was aware of. Other than
everything's trending in the right direction now.
G-Day is technically open practice, but
true, yeah.
As far as
but not
fall
for
camp
fall,
starting and stuff,
which is fun. I like that it's in Sanford Stadium. That's cool. I think it would be a little more fun to have it.
I guess maybe
it's
I
in
did
Sanford
see
Stadium.
the Snapchat. I thought they were going to be on the practice field.
So I wish it kind of would be, or the indoor practice facility. Maybe limit it to like the first 5,000 if they can even house that. I have no idea.
Have you guys been in that indoor facility?
No, it would be a cool way to.
I've taken a tour at Buttsmere before.
Okay,
that was
that was an addition, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that was built once. That was Rick's. Was his last year and Pruitt's.
I think we broke ground on it. Pruitt kind of spearheaded that whole thing. So 2014.
Yeah, it's a neat facility, but
that's awesome.
It would be cool to see and watch our practice in there. But no, it's in Sanford Stadium, so it was hot, but it was fun. I mean, we got to see a lot of the new freshmen incoming class. A lot of new numbers and just
a lot of the big name guys.
Yeah,
kind of it was fun to see the first time we saw Zamir White carry a ball in real life. That was
cool.
Pretty cool.
That was cool.
So were
Justin Fields throwing passes.
Were you guys on the sidelines? Were you behind the hedges? Were you in the stands? How did they have that set up?
So we have a cool bit. You can sit wherever you want in the stadium.
Okay.
So we were on the away side technically.
The away sideline. So we got real close, basically in the student section for people that are listening that know where the students sit. So we were down probably 20 rows up on like the 40-yard line watching like the inside linebackers were the closest to us.
So then once that was a little too hot for us, we got up to go sit in the shade. And lucky us, we actually ended up sitting in the end zone in like the suite level, the 200 level, shaded, with the Fromm family, with Emerson Fromm and Mama Fromm.
Yeah,
like
good looking family.
Yeah, very attractive family. I can see where the kid gets
I think there was like extended family there too. There's some babies running around. It was a really cool atmosphere because there were a ton. I think a lot of families go to that because it was free and you can come and go as you please. So you're not having to buy a ticket for a bunch of.
Did they have like concessions open and things?
Yeah, concessions open.
It's limited, but I mean, yeah, you can get Coke.
But it was fun. You saw like a bunch of little kids running around. Like the boys are wearing little Georgia jerseys and the girls are wearing little Georgia cheerleading outfits and stuff. It was a really cool thing to see.
How many? I mean, was there a ton of people there? Like,
we were saying the stadium didn't feel very full. I guess it holds 96,000 people or whatever. But then when they opened up the field at the end and you could go on the field and get autographs from players and stuff, it was packed.
Yeah, it was slammed.
I don't know, maybe like 4,000 people.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to ballpark. It was a couple of thousand. It was tough because, I mean, I can only imagine if the stadium was that full and we had some big time upset, which shouldn't happen any time in the years because we should be favored.
Should be favored in every
but if
game.
it was a big time upset, I don't know how we would, and we were to storm the field, I don't know how it would look like chaos because it looked. There wasn't an inch of space on the field when we were down there. I can, but just a very limited
field was
crowd.
Very, very crowded.
Just getting over the hedges would be a challenge.
Yeah, they took us around the hedges. But
don't touch the hedges.
They were very clear about that. In the west end zone, which is still an ongoing construction project. They're not totally done with it.
So, okay, you guys had a chance to see that. What is that all about? What are they adding in over there?
Yeah,
because I heard a little bit about it, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, so they had the big reveal last weekend, which is when we got all the recruits. That's when John Emery. He's a 5-star running back for 2019 class. Is it Micaiah Tongue? And then the receiver. And then who was the other kid?
It was.
And that's bad. We got 2 4-stars and a 5-star from that big reveal when they opened up the new end zone to the players. So what it includes is it's our new run out tunnel because it's going to have our new locker room, our home locker room, and a recruiting lounge. And they have a new video board, which they say is 30% larger. I couldn't tell. It looks good. But I mean,
and where's the video board going?
It's in the same place.
It's just bigger. It's bigger. It's thinner. It's a little more slim and modern looking.
But I guess the players are going to run in now from the west end zone.
Yeah, the west
and
end
they
zone.
Come in the east end zone.
Now,
and they added suites in the east end zone, right?
Yeah,
so almost like how you can watch Atlanta United, like field level, or in your seats when you have certain seats.
For those of y'all that are familiar with it, even watching it on TV, where we used to run out of, where we had the big granite bulldog, that was the east end zone. They are now going to make those field level suite seats, which is going to be very cool. And then now they're going to run out of the west end zone. So if you're familiar with pregame tradition, we do the dog walk past Tate Center, and then right when they go into the stadium is where their new locker room is going to be.
And that player we forgot was Ryan Davis, also linebacker.
Is it Ryan or Rian?
It's R-I-A, and I've been saying Ryan, but
Ryan, just call in next week or tweet at us and make sure we get that straight.
We're
off.
We know that you listen.
Yeah,
but he's a top 100 player in the country, so real high 4-star.
Is all that stuff going to be ready to go for this season?
Yeah, I don't think. I think it is. I think it is. They have been housing, or I guess they had during the big reveal event, they had recruits there, so that was ready and going. I don't think they would have recruits step into
the suites in the east end zone were the farthest from being done.
That looked it was empty. It was just a concrete
parked under
bay.
It looked like a parking garage.
I don't know how they're gonna. We have a friend of ours.
Kick it in gear.
Yeah, well, if Kirby says get it done, they'll get it done. That's one thing.
Yeah, that's true. Now we're all about overdressed and overserved, so we definitely want to make sure we have a good atmosphere there for everyone.
But I heard they're going to be serving beer.
Suppose the rumor is that those suites, if you're lucky enough to get your hands on some of those tickets, or just to sit there with someone they have alcohol included in those field level suites, which I don't think is a good vantage point for watching a game. I'm sure it's an awesome experience, but as far as being on the field in the end zone, though, if they're if the game-winning drives down there heading towards the west end zone, you're watching on the board.
Those are my least favorite seats to sit as a student in college. Was those end zone seats because, like you said, if anything happens on the opposite end zone, it's just impossible.
It's hard to watch it develop,
and you can't see. You have no depth perception. Yeah, so you can't see if somebody's going for a first down or anything. You can't really see if they stretch out for it, if they got it or not.
It'd be cool to do like a tour of that when they get it all finished. Because I know Jimmy and I, not at the same time, but we went and did the SunTrust Park tour.
Oh, did you go on that?
I did.
Okay,
it was actually on In We Go.
Yeah, it was. On In We Go too.
So we went and did the SunTrust Park tour. And I love seeing that kind of stuff, like behind the scenes. Cool. They take you up into the suites, where big money is spent to have that stuff, and then down low and the Delta Club or whatever. I think it'd be cool if Georgia, even if they sold tickets to do that, I would go.
Sure, there'd be a line. There'd be a waiting list for that
on that day. I'm sure there would have been a ton.
There'd be a waiting list for that, I think.
And some, to give the history behind everything, and I just think that would be awesome.
Sure, yeah.
So, but anyways, I want to hear more about what you guys saw at the practice.
Yeah. So I guess the atmosphere was awesome. It was fun. See some of the renovations go onto the field. Hot, but see some of the new players. I had a few takeaways. I don't have to go into all of them, but the few that jumped out for me were. Naturally, when you're trying to watch a practice and keep your eye on something, you tend to go towards the ball because that's just where the action's at. It's kind of hard to watch linebackers and defensive linemen run around against air. That's not all that exciting.
And they were in shorts and helmets too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This was the first two practices were helmets only. So this was not even shoulder pads or shells or anything to that effect.
So it was a lot easier to watch the skill players for sure. So other than on the linemen, you were really just looking at who was in.
Yeah,
trying to get a feel for
who looked good,
first string,
who's rotation.
Second string.
But on that same note, James Cook, the running back, number 6, he looked so fast. The kid's got another gear. I mean, people talk about it,
stuff they're running around,
and they would just dump it out. So he would literally they call it pass skeleton drills. It was like a 7-on-7, and it's just the linebackers, the secondary, quarterback, receivers, and running backs, and they would dump it out to him. And they were trying to at least touch him, not tackle him, and he would just blow by everybody on like a wheel route or something at the flats. He just moved. He had another gear, so that was exciting to see. Granted, Zeus has all the hype coming in, being the 5-star guy. He's a little limited with that. They've given him the full go for contact when they put the pads on, which I think starts tomorrow as the first full pads practice. But James Cook really jumped off the page to me as far as just someone who got the ball in his hands and how fluid he looked for a true freshman. The kid had another gear, so I think we are set at running back.
It would be fun to see him and Mehall back there, both deep to receive the first kick against Austin P. That would be, having seen what we saw, that'd be pretty exciting.
I think they're going to have to have that.
Each other or anything like that.
Yeah, no doubt. They're going to have that speed on the field for sure. And then another speed guy I saw sticking with the offense was. And I've been trying to give this guy a lot of love because every time I see him, I think he impresses. He impresses me when I see him back-to-back open practices, even on G days. But Akil Crumpton, I know he's a smaller back, and we are kind of log-jammed, I guess, at that slot receiver style with Terry Godwin, Mehall. You got Demetrius Robinson. You got Akil Crumpton, but the kid, he looks. When he snags the ball out of the air, he is so shifty, and he made a few plays that, granted, they can't tackle, but. He always impresses me, and I read a lot of stuff online too, and people say the same thing. He's a hard worker. I think he's picking up the system a little more, but he excites me. I like to see that translate to game day because
we just have so many weapons right now. It's almost like how are we going to get all these guys on the field, and and all of them with such big play capability. It's like we're gonna have drives that are like 4 plays.
So that's kind of the interesting thing because we talked about a few episodes ago, DeAndre Swift, the line of 1,000 rushing yards. After seeing some of the talent that we're going to have at running back, do you think he might be going under just because there's so much opportunity?
I don't know how many carries he'll steal from Swift just because they seem to be different backs. Cook's very shifty. He's pretty small. I don't know how much he'll hold up running.
I think they said he's like 190, 195. So I don't think he's between the tackles kind of guy. He'll be like a third down guaranteed, need to pick up some yards, maybe a draw, a screen. That'll be more of the package. What's coming, I think.
I don't know that we quite saw enough out of Zamir to really say he looked too much. Good. He had a brace on. Yeah, he looked good.
Zamir he caught the ball a few times, made a few cuts, and he sprinted full speed. It looked good. Also, speaking of sprinting full speed, and we're kind of on that subject now, I am not aware. I have no idea how ACLs work. When I hear ACL tear, I think, oh crap, that's a year. You're in a wheelchair. I don't know. And Devod Wilson, who tore his ACL in spring before, he's out there sprinting in the end zone just faster than I can ever run.
Yeah, I guess you get your straight line speed back cuts,
but he would just he would break down and turn and just fly. Just full speed sprint. I didn't think you could do that on an ACL tear. So someone who knows more about that, any of our PA nurse doctor friends, let me know.
Dr. James Andrews is one of our listeners, so maybe he can.
Okay, yeah. Thank you, Dr. Andrews. And then Dr. Brent Johnson as well. If you can reach out and let me know. Yeah. About that ACL piece. But anyway, that was impressive to me, though, just to see a kid who I'm thinking's laid up in a wheelchair and can't do anything, sprinting, out there.
That's got to be good news either way.
Yeah, no, I think so. Obviously, with our secondary, I think we've talked about that. We're talented, but we're thin. So any kind of big-time turnaround recovery would be.
With the secondary, it was fun watching the secondary in drills, but also in 7-on-7 and team, because those are the guys that, that's Kirby's position group. So those are the guys he was getting after.
Yes.
He was fun to watch. He was... he found something to be mad about every single play. And he's jumping around like we've all seen Kirby do ever since he was at Alabama, and taking his visor off and screaming. Like, we couldn't hear him.
He couldn't. No, well, I don't think we went.
Probably a good thing.
Mic'd up. Kids being around. Kids were in the audience.
PG rated.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was fun to watch Kirby get after it. That's kind of where the drama was.
There was one that Tyler pointed out that where. Who was
Mark Webb.
Was it Mark Webb? So the play went away from Mark Webb where he wasn't even involved in the play, and Kirby still found something to go over there and give him an earful.
He was on his ass every single snap in that
and
drill.
you've read about like the coaches are just in a mode where they demand absolute maximum effort every single rep of every single practice. Like there are no plays off at all.
Yeah, and he was getting after Mark Webb several times, and the last time I saw was that play Jimmy referenced where. Something happened where Fromm didn't even pass the ball. He pulled it down and ran around to the opposite side of the field. Mark Webb wasn't even in the picture. I wasn't even looking that way. And all you see, look over, Kirby has his visor off. He's yelling. He's grabbing his face.
So maybe when he saw that Fromm was looking the other way, he just got lazy. And
maybe
Fromm had worked his way back to the opposite side of the field. Webb was out of position. I don't know what it was.
I'm not enough of an X's and O's guy to understand that. But it was just
Mark
fun.
Webb, you can tweet at us and let us know.
Yeah, I would love to hear it. I know it was probably a humbling experience to get that, and you probably get it every day. Probably much worse. Not just Mark, but like a lot of guys. We just got the chance to see Kirby kind of explode there, which was just. That's fun because they kind of keep it cool on the sideline during a game. You got to manage a game, but in practice, when you're trying to make sure you correct mistakes and get someone on the right path to get ready for fall for September 1st, I mean, it was fun to watch them get heated.
It was. So who else? Demetrius Robertson had a really good catch, that juggling catch in the end zone.
Yep. So Fromm put that one right on the money. It's like a 30 or 40 yard pass, and then it looked a little more dramatic because he bobbled it a bit, but he just hung in there the whole way through, and D-Raw brought that down for a touchdown.
They had Demetrius Robertson against Tyson
Campbell a lot.
Yeah. So that was kind of fun to watch. And former 5-star versus former 5-star. So one's older than the other, but they're both brand new guys to the team. So that might be Kirby putting two new guys that he expects to be big contributors against each other to say who's going to step up, even though you're both new.
Yeah, that was a fun matchup to watch when they put those two across from each other.
That was pretty cool.
And speaking of Tyson Campbell, they were doing a drill. His speed also. I guess I'm just married to speed for the time being. He looked great in drills. There was a drill where they have the defensive back up, back pedal, and then they'll pull the ball, and so they're supposed to react. And I guess they call it T-step. I can't remember if that's the correct term, but anyway, they just back pedal, put their heel on the ground, and just fire off towards the sideline. And he looked so freaking quick. I mean, you can just see it with these younger guys that we have. The speed is there for as young as they look. They catch your eye. They look good. They look the part. Yeah. I mean, it's gonna be fun to watch.
As far as young guys looking the part, being close to the inside linebackers, Quay Walker.
Yeah, that kid is a man. Yeah. He's 19 years old. The kid,
he's scary.
He's fresh off prom, and the Joker looks forward. I mean, his arms are huge. He looked good. I mean, for everything I heard about Channing Tindall, and I'm sure Channing, will be a great contributor.
When they were out there running through drills together, it was very easy to look and be like, that is the future of inside linebacker.
It's impressive. Georgia. But Quay Walker is just from, I guess they say on the heel or on the hoof. Is it that the saying on the hoof?
We're still trying to figure out the context of that phrase.
I'm working on that.
We don't really understand what it means.
Don't look like you get horse in the mouth.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, Quay Walker, that kid looks ready to go day one. If he gets it between the ears, he looks like someone who could stand in.
So what about looking between Fromm and Fields? What did you guys see from their drills and the plays that they got in?
They both look good deep. They both threw some really good deep balls. Fromm, I noticed more than Fields, but probably because I was watching him more carefully. He missed a few short checkdowns to running backs.
Yeah. They went high a lot.
Weren't super pretty throws for whatever reason.
Yeah, so we saw a few misses from both. Doesn't mean they had bad days. I guess it's just, it's what you see. I mean,
we did find out we have a walk-on quarterback who's number 4 because we spent 40 minutes thinking Mehall Hardman was playing
Wildcat or something.
We were like, what are they giving Mehall so many reps at quarterback for? And we realized it wasn't him.
And that also is a strong tell that kid will not be dressing out for the games because you can't share number 4 on offense with Mehall Hardman. Because Mehall was not coming off the field.
Yeah, that's true.
So you're definitely writing yourself off.
Mechal's going to get the nod.
Yeah, you're as far as a numbers game, literally. You're writing yourself off as getting any kind of PT.
Yeah,
if you're going to be number 4.
We got any? I guess not everything was perfect, so I guess we can talk about this stuff that I noticed. Nate McBride seemed to struggle a little bit.
Yeah,
he got beat real bad on, and it was hard to tell because you couldn't tell if the offense is just a good bit ahead of the defense right now, or if everything is scripted for the offense just march down the field. Mm-hmm. But all the team parts we watched, the offense really just seemed to march pretty easily.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the structure or not.
I couldn't tell because and they lined up like when we first got there. It was really cool because they had the first team offense versus the first team defense, and they started on the 20 and they had a scripted play where they kind of marched down the field. And about 3 plays in, the second team offense got against the second team defense on the 20, and then they were marching down the field, and then it was third versus third. Yep. So at one point there was 3 separate, 11-on-11 matchups going on. So I guess you have to have them moving at a certain rate, or else they're going to bump into each other.
Well, so I was reading up on that, and they said that's Kirby's attempt to say he means it when he says he's going to give everyone the same amount of reps. That's what he means. That is the most efficient way they can fit literally everyone on the field at the same time and just have it running marching on the field. What is that? 33 guys? No, more than that. 66 guys on the field at once, just all play. That's a lot to keep up with, but that's how you can truly see. Okay. You did good on this, on the second team, rotate to first. You did bad on first, rotate to second, I guess is how they would move that around. But it was fun to watch. It was organized. You had to give it to them.
That was one thing that was so impressive was they had the game clock was counting down for every section. And it was literally over the 2 hours that we were there, like the practice ended at 6:30.
Yeah, they did not waste any time.
It was 6:30. Like everything was down to the minute. They didn't fall 1 minute behind in a 2-hour practice, which was really, really cool to see.
It was fun to watch. I mean, just seeing a lot of the guys, get ready for this year. And did you see anyone step up for like leadership wise? I guess is like for players.
I read online that Andrew Thomas broke down the whole team at the end of the practice.
Okay, that's
so
cool.
I don't know if Kirby does a different guy each time or the players vote on that or whatever, but that is one thing they say that throughout the off-season workouts and throughout the practices and throughout everything, Kirby's always looking for, who's going to be the leader, who's going to step up,
right? Who's
going to be that guy. So I guess Andrew Thomas is, he always seemed like kind of a quiet guy, kind of marched out there like a Nick Chubb on the offensive line. But I guess Kirby's looking for him to take on more of a leadership role.
Also, I want to say, as far as stepping up and being called out by Kirby, Richard LeCount had 3 interceptions in practice, which that's not all verse from and Fields. I think 2 were verse from, if I'm not mistaken. But
I think you're right.
He had 3 total, and Richard LeCount was really, Kirby called him out saying he's got the gifts, he's got the talent. We just want to see him have it between the ears and get in the playbook and really have a confidence in understanding what he should do. And he looked good, and everything I've read even kind of confirms that he's taken that challenge seriously. So, anything, obviously on defense, so as much as we've lost at linebacker and being so thin, anything I guess that helps us look more confident back there is huge. I love hearing that, and then that just gives gives us another guy that can coach other guys away from Kirby,
Yeah, you need those coaches on the field, especially safety is a big one where because there's nobody behind him, so he needs to be doing the right thing and he needs to be telling people what to do. So at wide receiver, would you say, Godwin didn't practice.
Right.
So I think they had Mehall out more at Godwin's position a little more, and that was how Crumpton was getting on the field more.
Yeah.
And then they were they have Demetrius Robertson a little farther back, which is maybe just because they're not sure if he's going to be eligible, but I definitely got the vibe that Demetrius Robertson outplayed Riley Ridley.
Yeah.
Did you? Ridley had a bad drop just like in G-Day. Same route, almost. It was the opposite end zone, I believe.
Yeah.
But, was it the same end zone?
Same exact end zone.
Oh, okay.
He got injured at G-Day.
So yeah. But it was just, and he was wide open. I don't know if his corner pulled up or he just burned the guy or whatever. He was out there by himself, and it was a perfect throw, and he just bobbled it and dropped it.
Yeah, that makes me worried. It's funny because I did this to myself.
Hopefully Robertson is eligible.
Yeah, no, to your point.
Not to write off Ridley after watching him drop one pass and
to your
watched,
point, and I read on another recruiting website that we're members of that they said that he just D-Rob looks so, like it said, silky smooth, like just as far as running routes, understanding what to do. He just pulling guys away from other wide receivers. He looks the part, and it comes naturally to him, and you could see that. Again, this is all in helmets. Everyone looks great in fall without playing against anybody. Everyone looks great in just wearing helmets when it's light and easy, but the kid looks good. He looks athletic. He's going to be exciting. Speaking of Riley Ridley, I did this to myself, and I shouldn't have. I rewatched National Championship for the first time the other day, and I watched the whole thing through.
For the first time?
For the first time, I rewatched it.
I don't think I'll ever watch it.
I don't know why I did it to myself, because I found myself getting so fired up. We don't have to get into all this. Anyway, the point I was going to make on this whole thing was Riley Ridley looked so good in that game.
Yeah, he did. I forgot.
I know he did well. It's just going back and watching it again, not a few beers deep, and not so emotionally involved, and be able to pay attention to what's actually about to happen. The kid, if he can replicate that, we're gonna have a ton of weapons, but we're getting that consistency out of him because that's the only time he showed up almost all year.
Yeah, we definitely do have a problem that we haven't had in the past. As far as right now, it's not like I feel like in the past under a lot of Mark Richt teams, it was like, well, we have AJ Green, but who's going to be the second receiver? Who's going to draw coverage away from him? Like we have this good running back, but who's going to be the guy because he can't take 40 carries a game or whatever. And this year, it's more like how are we going to get all these guys on the field? We've got. I mean, if Robertson plays, we've got 3 5-stars and a 4-star receiver, high 4-star. I mean, being Ridley, we've got other 4-stars. Jason Stanley was a 4-star.
Yeah,
high class problems.
I'm sorry, Tyler Simmons was a 4-star.
Simmons, I think Simmons. I mean, we're just getting the depth chart here. But I think Simmons gets a nod over Stanley.
You think?
If that's what it came down to, putting 5 on the field, I guess you got Ridley.
Well, then you got
Godwin,
Cook.
Mehall.
Cook could function from what we saw. Which again, we're watching guys in shoulder pads and. In helmets and no shoulder pads, getting real excited, but there's just a lot of weapons, a lot of star power.
Well, the fun part, this is when it gets fun. This past weekend was the last weekend without football at any level for us. So, and this is where it gets fun. You get to read about the practice. We get to work towards September 1st, and this is when you get to see your depth chart shaping up and who steps up and who can get past that wall of fall camp when it's still hot, early fall and
that is one thing that you hear about, and it was extremely hot. So I mean, I wouldn't fault any of the players for struggling through that, but you do hear the coaches say that you can tell which guys are from the South and which guys are not. Those first few days of fall practice, because those guys from the North just hit a wall and they're like, oh my God, like I didn't know it could be this hot and this humid. And how about our inside line, Schumann?
Glenn
wearing sweatpants and a crew neck sweatshirt.
Yeah, it was soaking wet afterwards.
So high energy. It was. I was like, I would actually be dead out
I'd
there.
faint. I think I would just melt away.
I went to New Realm Brewery on Sunday and was sitting there drinking a beer outside, and I thought I was going to pass out.
He was wearing sweats.
This is what peak male performance looks like, whether you like it or not.
Yeah. That was,
speaking of that heat, though. I do not miss. I loved playing sports, but I do not miss putting on shoulder pads and a helmet. I know if you're looking at me, you would think, how in the hell did that kid ever play football? I did.
He was a kicker. Yeah, spoiler.
So kind of played football.
But whatever. Anyway, I scored some points.
I played linebacker, but
I do not miss wearing that in that heat, standing out there and just sweating all day.
For me, my mom was a teacher at the school that I played at. So in between 2 days, I'd go help her in her classroom.
That was Jimmy's weight training.
Yeah, I didn't even get to relax or anything. That was just all work all day.
And it's never stopped.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, that's awesome. I wish I could have made it down there with you guys. Unfortunately, I was out of town, but just hearing...
It was a fun day.
Yeah. It was cool.
Hearing everything about it.
I think that we kept the bookstore in business for at least another week.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Friend of this show.
Cole. Shout out to UGA Bookstore.
Yeah, I think we spent about $500.
Are you serious?
The 3 of us. Yeah. Well, not each, but... Siri,
you got a caller coming.
Wait, so okay, now because I didn't know that. What did you guys get at the bookstore?
I wanted the new game day gear, so I bought some T-shirts and stuff. I actually found out, and I'm getting kind of like a diva here, but I had no short sleeve Georgia shirts, T-shirts. I have some polos for game day.
Is that what you got there?
This is actually one of them. Yeah, shout out to the Nike gear.
So when I worked in the athletic department, except ours was red, but that's what we wore.
I got a red one too. I couldn't. I'm very indecisive.
Did you really?
Oh yeah. I'm so indecisive when it comes to what I want to buy. So why not just buy both?
Why not both?
Life's too short. Treat yourself.
I got a sweatshirt that said University of Georgia College of Pharmacy, which I attended, a crew neck sweatshirt, and I got my mom a T-shirt that said Georgia Mom. I'm going to mail it to her so she can wear it in Knoxville once football season starts.
Nice. Mm-hmm. I was actually up at Notre Dame.
I saw that. Y'all were on campus. I saw that.
Yep. So my family lives up there now, or my parents and my brothers. I still got another brother down here in town, but we went up and visited him, my girlfriend and I, and she'd never been to the campus, so we went and walked around. My dad was an alumni, and it was more so to see the campus and stuff, but they did make some huge additions onto the football stadium, which is pretty cool. Mm-hmm. And I think what they were trying to do is kind of incorporate a classroom mentality into the stadium, so you actually have classrooms built into the side.
We saw
Tennessee's stadium is like that, I think. I don't know if it's just if you're a sports manager. This isn't even a joke to make fun of Tennessee. This is an actual fact. There's classrooms that you walk by, they'll be locked on game day, but it'll be room.
But they also installed some luxury suites up there as well.
Yeah, that was brand new for the Georgia game. I remember some of their fans are telling us about that, but it looks good. It looks like a building attached to the stadium. It's kind of hard to describe. Look it up online. It is beautiful, but yeah, it's like a new academic facility right outside the stadium.
Yeah,
it looks sharp.
It's a little weird.
Is that specific to like sports management type majors? You think?
To be honest,
just take like an accounting class in there.
To be honest, I'm not really sure. I think it's more so just like an initiative. Like we don't want this to be like the focal point of our campus.
Sure.
Like so many people think about Notre Dame. We want it to not just be about football. We want it to be about the academics and stuff. Which I can
trying to get away from the we didn't come here to play school mentality.
Yeah,
was that Notre Dame?
Do it?
Was that Notre Dame?
No, that was Ohio State. That was I think JT Barrett was one of their quarterbacks.
Okay. I think he tweeted that out.
He did.
But anyways, it was cool to see, and I'm glad that they put in the Jumbotron like they did. I mean, I think it was time for them to update and get with the time, so I wasn't upset about that. But it was great to see the campus. We also went to the bookstore and snagged a couple of things while we were up there, so I'm not turning my back on Georgia whatsoever. It would be different, I think, if it was another SEC team. Sure. But just having been a long-time fan, so it was fun to see. But, I mean, it's still exciting. I know we talked about a little bit in the last episode how exciting it is when we're at this point of the year and football is so close, to starting and kickoff and games getting going. But we've had a lot of great experiences in Athens, both around football, and not away, not centered on the game. So what are some of your experiences? I know we like to kind of recant some of these.
The best experiences in Athens overall, or
both? I mean, because for me, mine has to be, again, I didn't grow up a big Georgia fan, but mine had to be the first game I ever went to, which was in 2010. And I think they were playing like the Raging Cajuns or something like that. When obviously it's, opener. But for me, it was just like walking to that stadium and being like, holy cow, seeing the tailgating is something, again, that I've said, nobody does it better than the SEC, in my opinion, Georgia. And then being able to be in that stadium with that many fans is just unbelievable. So for me, that has to top the list as just like the all-time Georgia football experience.
I think for me, I've said it on an earlier podcast, but for me, the highest energy was probably the 2013 LSU game. I've talked to a lot of other Georgia fans who feel the same way. A lot of people who have been to a lot of games that I just haven't felt that kind of energy in the stadium when it was. I believe it was Aaron Murray threw a late touchdown to Justin Scott Wesley to put us ahead, and then Zach Mettenberger was the quarterback, and it was 4th and 10. And he ended up throwing an incomplete pass, and that was when the game was over. And that was the absolute loudest I've ever heard the stadium. And I would love if we could somehow get to a point where that was the norm, and I didn't have to look back on that and say that was the coolest experience I've had. So I'm sure Kirby is working on that, because I'm sure a loud stadium helps with recruiting, and Kirby knows that it's all about recruiting. But I would say that one, and then also Chubb and Michelle's freshman year against Clemson was. I referenced that on the last podcast too, but that was when Weedham Boys by Wiz Khalifa was big, and Gurley was standing on the bench waving a towel, and it was playing Weedham Boys, and just the entire student section was going insane. So I think those would probably be my two best in the stadium as far as a game day goes.
I hope they kind of incorporate that more. I don't know if you mentioned that in the past.
They were playing some rap music at the open practice.
Yeah.
So I don't know if the players get to set up a playlist.
Something to that effect, I think they do.
I think they should do that more in games, though, especially in situations that are, you need players to get pumped up and you want the fans to be involved. I think that's.
I just know we have an older alumni base that still attends game, which we're thankful for. It's a lot of money comes from that, so I think you have to appease everybody.
Yeah, I suppose. I guess it's a selfish hope.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think we're trending towards that because we're seeing it more and more, so I think we'll get there. For me, as far as favorite experiences in Athens, I'm a New Age fan, kind of like Will. I didn't grow up a Georgia fan, unfortunately. I hate that it took me so long to see the light. But I think one is kind of a letdown in a way because it ended up being negated. But the play when Gurley came back from his suspension versus Auburn,
that was electric.
Auburn kicked off. Gurley snagged the ball and housed the thing. His first time back since being suspended for the autograph thing.
Yes, before the Florida game.
And he housed it, and the place went nuts. It was like a welcome back. Did you miss me? Here I am. It was awesome.
I still maintain that Gurley would have won the Heisman that year if we hadn't suspended him. I think he was just
he's fun to watch, and he had another gear too. That kid could fly, and that was a fun okay. This is a fun place. This is my house. I'm proud to be a part of this. Was
that like the turning point?
for me.
Your fandom?
It was the first Georgia-Auburn game that I
you were wearing Georgia stuff?
Yep.
Really?
And that was the first play.
And you never looked back.
Then it was all
in.
The door down. That was fun. But that play was negated, unfortunately. But that was just a fun atmosphere to be a part of. I think my favorite, and I guess as a new age, was last year versus Mississippi State. An absolute rout of a game. But I remember coming out of that, the flea flicker was starting off, and then just absolutely smashing them in that game. I think did we hold them scoreless, or was it?
It's 31-3, but Monty Rice had that awesome tackle on the last play of the game to keep them out of the end zone. That was, we can talk about that.
But I just remember walking out of that stadium, though, thinking after Notre Dame, after App State with, Eason going down, Fromm coming in to Notre Dame, and that was our first SEC win, I believe, of the season. And that's when I was like, okay, now we're marching. Now, it was against Todd Grantham. I think, was he still there? I'm pretty sure, before he left to go to Florida. Not Florida, where'd he go?
Grantham is at Florida now.
Yeah,
wasn't
I think he was at Mullins.
Yeah, because he had left.
Because he followed Mullins to Florida.
Right. Yeah, I guess he was.
But just walking out of the stadium is what I'm.
We didn't even have to wait for third and Grantham to score that. That flea flicker. We did it on first down.
That I love, but I guess that was fun. That was just It felt real. It felt special. We had some fun on the road games. We got a freshman quarterback, and we just went there and just stomped an SEC West team, which is known as like the toughest division in all of football. That was. That one, you could feel the momentum growing walking out of it. People were just so excited, scoring that many points, playing that well on defense. That was fun.
And to talk about the Monty Rice, the way he stuck their running back to keep him out of the end zone. I think it was like 4th and 1 on the on the goal line as time was winding down, and he stuck the guy behind the line of scrimmage. And that to me was kind of looking around. I was like, that was when you could tell kind of a culture change.
The mindset was there.
Had arrived in Athens to where and Mark Richt, he won a lot of games for us. He's a great coach. I have a lot of good memories of Mark Richt, but I feel like under his regime, that might have been one where the players were just kind of ready to get back to the locker room, get downtown, be done with the game, and they sneak in the end zone and we win 31-10, and it's like, oh, well, good job, guys. Like, you did your best.
Yeah.
And it was really cool to see all the seniors on the sideline yelling at the freshmen, like, you better not let them in the end zone. This, they haven't scored. This is our game. This is our team. So that was cool.
Yeah,
that's something I'll look back on, and I think, years from now and say that was a time where you could really, truly see the culture shifting in Athens.
That buy-in for every second of 60 minutes was certainly there.
And the seniors on the sideline were going crazy, like he had made the tackle to save the whole game.
I remember really Roquan running out there and like celebrating with him and like just getting.
You saw that against Florida too when they did score, when it was 42-0, and they scored to make it 42-7, and there were some seniors out there just laying into some freshmen. You could easily be like, "What? The game's in hand. Like, who cares? We destroyed them." And seniors were like, "No, we had a shutout, and you guys gave it up. Like, that's not okay."
Yeah.
That's awesome. But I will say, as we were talking about our best experiences in the stadium, I would say one of my best experiences of a game day in Athens, this is pretty specific, but I think a lot of Georgia fans will remember, is in 2012. It was the day that we played Georgia Southern at home, and we beat them 45-14, so we killed them. And we were back at the house that all of us on the podcast lived in, a couple different houses that were next door to each other. And we were just hanging out watching football, and Georgia was ranked number 5 at the time. And Kansas State goes out and loses. Number 2 Kansas State goes out and loses to Baylor 24-52. And the game after that was Oregon versus Stanford, and Oregon was ranked number 1. And we're all kind of looking around like, guys, if Oregon loses this game, Notre Dame's going to be number 1, Bama's going to be number 2, and we're going to be number 3, and we're going to play Bama in the SEC championship. So we were like, if Oregon loses this game, Georgia controls its own destiny. And they ended up losing 14-17 in overtime. Yep. And so that you would never think a bunch of Georgia guys, Georgia fans, sitting around in a random house in Athens, Georgia, could be cheering for the Stanford Cardinal as hard as all of us were cheering that night. And that was, that's one of my best memories of just how far-reaching college football is, really, that it was such a random game that shouldn't have meant anything to any of us. And, we were cheering every bit as hard as if it was Georgia out there playing.
Yeah, I remember that Ed Freeman State Farm agent was there watching it with us.
Yeah?
He was at the house. I remember that.
Speaking of Ed Freeman State Farm, if you're like me and you're accident prone, then you're also like me and you seek out the best coverage. And that's why not only myself, but everybody else here relies on Ed Freeman State Farm for their coverage. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Ed Freeman is certainly the best agent in the state, if not the entire collection of the cosmos.
Whatever's bigger than a galaxy.
Yeah.
We're running out of things to
gone
get bigger.
From galaxy to universe to the entire collection of the cosmos, and it's true. So if you've got a boat, a life, a car, or a house, then go to Ed Freeman State Farm for all of your coverage needs. Okay, so real quick, I know we covered a lot of different stuff. This is kind of straying further away from the field, but now I'm on a track of wanting to find out more about what your opinions were of watching. Because I've been down there where, post-graduation, I didn't have a ticket, but I was there to tailgate and then watch the game at a bar. Best place to watch a Georgia football game if you didn't have a ticket. And I'm going to go first because I don't want anybody else to take it. And I've got to start off by saying that it's definitely Magnolia's.
Okay, I thought you were going to say Amici's.
No, that's going to be the best place to eat, and we'll get to that in a minute. Magnolia's has to be the best place because, A, it's the closest to the stadium, I think.
Yeah.
And
that would make sense.
It also has a big projector screen that is upstairs. They also have pool tables.
They have both upstairs and downstairs.
Okay, well, even more reason to watch a game there. And then, it's just got a lot of space and a big bar. So that, for me, would top the list.
The one game I didn't make it into was Tennessee in 2013, and I had to watch it at General's. It was fun.
It's such a narrow bar, though.
It was. That was the only time I haven't gone in. I had to watch a game in a bar and didn't make it into the stadium.
Really?
But I would probably say Magnolia's myself, just because it's so big and it's spacious. But my only experience is General's, so I'm going to have to go with General's.
I was a big Boar's Head guy in college, so I enjoy watching it at Boar's Head, especially if they have the game on the TVs outside and you can watch from the porch. The only negative thing I'll say about Boar's Head is that's where I was watching, because I didn't have a ticket, was watching the Tennessee game when they threw the Hail Mary and that we lost. So
I want to touch on this. Wasn't it you saying that you were watching that game there and that there was a delay on the TVs? Was that you telling me this story? We have a friend of ours who was watching the game there. It was one of the games. I want to say it was something to that effect. It was a Tennessee game. And then they said there was a TV downstairs was ahead of the TV upstairs. And they are
basically worst case.
They were hearing everyone cheer, come on. And then they heard everyone just go quiet. And their play was still going on their TV. And they were like, well, this can't be good. Tennessee catches that damn ball and they win as time expires. And that's a horrible way to watch a game, by the way.
Yeah.
But that was
like we referenced a few podcasts ago. I think that even though we killed Tennessee last year, in Knoxville, which was I'm sure a lot of fun for Kirby, I think he's still got a bad taste in his mouth from losing that way in Athens in his first year.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Tennessee is in for kind of a rude awakening when they come to Athens this year.
Good.
Yeah.
Jimmy's got a personal vendetta just being from Knoxville, I think. But I'm all aboard on supporting that vendetta.
Yeah, speaking of Knoxville, they say the best view of Knoxville is in your rearview mirror. Can you confirm?
Knoxville is a great place to grow up. I got nothing against Knoxville.
It's a great place to be from.
Yeah. No, shout out to my parents for moving there and raising me there. And no, I like growing up in Knoxville a lot. I love going home. Their stadium is not nice. I don't know what else to say about it. If anybody's ever been there, it's big.
Nice.
They wanted to have the biggest stadium, so I think it held 107,000 people, and they just repainted all the numbers on it, and they were like, now it holds 109,000 people.
There you go.
They didn't make it any bigger. They just made the seats smaller. So I don't know how that's allowed, but they've done that a few different times.
They have bleachers?
Yeah, they have bleachers, and it was where there should be room for 14 people, there's 17 seats, and they're just figure it out.
That's dumb.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a non-popular answer. Play devil's advocate a little bit.
Let's talk about bar.
Yeah, David's getting us back on track. Thanks, David.
I'd have to say I had some pretty good experiences.
If you say Buddha Bar.
Oh my God.
Okay, David's
not
out.
even City Bar.
If anybody knows how to work all this equipment, we need a new producer. Because David is fired, but none of us know how to do any of this.
Why Buddha? Why Buddha?
Let me tell you why.
Me and Jeff.
For one, Jeff wasn't there. For one, people weren't crawling all over you. Probably
because nobody was there.
Exactly. But if you want to watch a Georgia game and you want to be front row, and they were doing $2 well drinks,
that's fair. That's strong. That's strong.
And they have good TVs and it's open and you can breathe and so that's why I liked it. Yeah. I didn't like to be just like
dude, the days of $2 well drinks.
I know. Seriously, we got to get.
We didn't know what we
had.
Man.
But also a little bit of a throwback. Remember JR's? You guys remember going there in college?
Yeah. I would say JR's is my vote.
Yeah, JR's. For our younger listeners,
JR's
is the old name of what was Stonewall's, which I now think maybe has changed names again. It's probably going to be knocked down and turned into high-rise apartments because that's the way downtown Athens is trending, which is sad.
Or an extension of Toppers.
Yeah, that might be true. Like locker rooms for the girls that work at Toppers. But the bar that's next door to Toppers, it was called JR's when we were there. Jared Salmons was the bartender there. Shout out to Jared, who was listening to us in Virginia, I think.
Is he in Virginia now?
He's in law school. Yeah, he's going to be a lawyer.
What's up, Jared? 478.
Yeah, Jared, text us back. He never texts us back on the group text.
Don't text us, comment.
Yeah, comment on the podcast so that we know you're live. But Jared was a bartender there, and so we did not have to pay for also Colin in College Entry.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, we had to set up there.
Also, City Bar.
City Bar, yeah. Will had a brief stint bartending at City Bar. He couldn't get us as cheap of drinks because they were a little more strict with inventory.
Free not
but he
cheap
was
enough?
the door guy before we were 21, so that was invaluable because we could get in with our horrible fake IDs.
I remember quizzing you.
I think. Are we allowed to say that now? You're not going to just that Will let us in with fake IDs?
I did my due diligence
City
as
Bar
far as
owner's
checking
not
them,
gonna
as
call
far
you
as
and
I'm
fire you?
concerned.
Yeah, everyone's got a story. But I remember helping Will study the drinks, how to make the drinks. He had it on flashcards.
Yeah.
I would sit there and be like, this.
I memorized
this,
all these drinks, and I was like so excited to get started, and then realized that there's basically 3 that are requested, and it's like, can I have a Jack and Coke? It wasn't even Jack. It was like, can I just have a whiskey and Coke?
I was like, who are you hanging out with?
Yeah, right.
Jack Daniels in college.
And, like gin and tonic and vodka cranberry.
And beer. Oh, that must have been David. David was in the house.
And
Vodka
well, David would go on martini night.
That's
he had
true.
to know how to make
That
it.
$3
was
martini night.
That happened one time.
That was embarrassing.
We will never let you
For
live
the
that
record.
down.
People don't forget.
I was a fan of the City Blue, actually.
That's true.
It was the key lime pie martini.
That happened once.
Well,
I'm going to have to dive back into the drink book and remember some of those so the next time that we have people over, I can mix
Yeah,
them
you can
up.
bartend for us.
Yeah.
Also, Walker's is a solid spot after the game. Not to watch the game,
is, yeah.
but if you
That's
need
the
a
coffee
rally,
one, right?
yeah, that's the coffee place. But
I
they
do
make
like that
make
place
like
a
Nutty
lot.
Irishman and Irish coffees and stuff. If you need something a little more low key to rally after the game before you head over to Bourbon and
you
90s.
will get judged though if you go in there with your game day gear on.
Yeah, they do
I
not
love
walk
Walkers.
college.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
really?
like giving them my business, but they're crunchy,
much
kind of
too
local.
edgy.
Yeah,
to
I
be
could see
dealing
that.
with college football fans.
I didn't go there until after I graduated, and I think it was specifically for that purpose because we were like, okay, well, let's get some coffee and kind of rally or whatever. I like that place a lot. Now that you mentioned it, I'm glad you brought that up because I like that. But what was the? And it's funny because I worked there. What was the place that I worked right by the theater? I literally can't remember the name, and I worked there. Yes, but it's not Arch Bar.
No, it was Arch Bar, and now it is
On the Rock?
No.
Oh shit!
This is bad.
This is bad.
I was in. I can't remember a former employer.
Bar South.
Yes,
It was called Bar South. It was called Arch Bar at the time.
it was.
man.
Yeah.
Further back in the days, that one was good. They made it big, but then it just got like way too crowded. And I remember having to put up with like terrible, rowdy, out of town fans. The worst one was an Ole Miss game that we had, and this one kid like just would not give up. I was like, dude, you're like, I don't know, 19, and it's fairly obvious based on this like 400-pound person you have on your ID. Like, I'm not letting you in. Okay.
He was trying to convince you that he was.
Yeah, and he just like kept trying to hop the fence, and I was like, dude, just let it go.
Yeah.
But
Arch Bar is fun. Or what is it now?
Bar South.
Bar
Bar
South.
South. It's fun. That is a fun bar.
But also the theater. I always enjoyed.
The rooftop.
Yeah.
of
The
theater
rooftop,
now is
yeah. We went to the
awesome.
rooftop for a long time at Twilight this
For a
year.
long time.
Which is fun. That's
A little bit too long.
Fun place to be when the sun is out.
It was, yeah.
Hanging out, watching football or there, doing whatever, depending on the time of year.
I'm so excited.
I'm
can't wait to
ready. I'm ready to be
Can't
back
wait
to
to get
enjoy
back.
all those venues.
Yeah.
I didn't get to go back last year.
Didn't
You didn't go to a game
single
last year?
You didn't miss much. We didn't win at all. But this year is
It was a
the year.
so-so season.
Yeah. So I'm going to make a commitment and a pledge to myself that I'm going to make it back for at least one game.
Tennessee and Auburn.
I'm going to say Tennessee
are
because
definitely
it is
the
that
games.
second weekend in October. And that is going to be, I'm hoping, a cool,
It's
crisp
the last
fall
weekend in
morning.
September. September
I really
29th.
do have that wrong.
Yep.
The worst one was that torrential rainstorm where we played
Was that
Alabama.
Alabama?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That was miserable.
Yeah, I think they canceled the game. I don't think we even played. I think we
Georgia
Georgia
didn't-
We
yeah,
were
Georgia-
favored. I think we had a good shot against
We
Alabama.
would have
scoreboard.
if we played, but yeah, Georgia didn't play that day. So
No.
That's how we
Tyler could have
choose.
sold his
That's how we
ticket.
choose to remember it.
yeah,
Awesome.
The game was a
that
mess.
was rough.
All right. Well, I want to say thank you to all of our listeners and our viewers for joining us again for another podcast. We love having you every time, every episode. Continue to watch. Be sure to like and subscribe, and most importantly, share. Again, be on the lookout. This will be posted on Reddit for those of you that follow that subreddit. But stay tuned next week, and we'll be back then. Thanks, and go Dogs.
Go Dogs.